Mary Obana. Welcome to Shine. I'm all about friendly, soul-nourishing, spiritually inspired conversations that expand perspectives and offer practical guidance so you can live joyfully and shine brightly. I believe everyone has something special within them, a unique gift, a light you are to find and share with the world. You are meant to shine. I believe you have a deep knowing, guidance that is ready to serve you. It is always available if you listen. I believe you are meant to live with complete joy and peace, nothing less. It's just awaiting your allowing. Ready to get to it? Here we go. Hi there. Thanks for joining me. I am so glad you're here. In this episode, we're going to talk about something we all experience at one time or another. For some, it can be welcomed. For others, it's downright dreaded. Either way, it's inevitable. And because it's one of those unavoidable things, I thought I'd share a way to think about it. The topic is change. Now, did you just wince? For some, even the idea of it gives them the heebie-jeebies. How do you feel about change? Are you one of those people who thrive on change, loving when things are switched up? Maybe instead you don't seek it, but you manage it just fine, dealing with it as it comes when you have to. Or perhaps you abhor change, preferring to skip it altogether. Thank you very much. If change is not your friend, a change of any kind can be tricky. Even being in a new place for a vacation can be a bit nerve-wracking because it's so unfamiliar. Years ago, I read about this fellow in the UK who ate the same thing for breakfast every day for years. Oatmeal with a slice of cheddar cheese. He never missed a day. This man was featured in a news story because he suffered from hiccups for decades, until one day he was forced to travel from his English country cottage. I can't recall whether it was to see a doctor or for a family matter, but while away from home, he could not find his trusted oatmeal and cheddar cheese breakfast. Guess what happened? The hiccups stopped. This is a man who did not like change. Change comes in a lot of different forms, circumstances, and sizes. There's a change that comes with life stages, marriage, parenthood, empty nesterhood, the loss of a loved one. Then there's a change that comes from leaving a job or starting a new one, a change in a relationship, or the change that comes from one of life's unforeseen curveballs. Change is often difficult, particularly when it's unexpected or thrust upon us by circumstances beyond our control. It can leave us feeling uncertain, unprepared, unanchored. Then there's a change that we instigate because it's time. Perhaps you're in the midst of a change of one kind or another right now. How does it feel? While moments of change can be uncomfortable, it also signals the start of something different, something new. But how you experience it will depend on the energy you bring to it. You have more control than you think. You always control the energy you bring to any situation. How do you respond to change? What's making you feel that way? How can you make change work to your advantage? Let's dive into this. If you resist even the idea of change, it's often not the change itself that makes you uncomfortable, but it's what's behind it. Where does that resistance come from? Well, it comes from fear. Fear of the unknown, for instance, or fear that you won't be able to thrive on the other side of the change. If the change on your mind is related to your work, I recently read that fear of change is one of the most significant factors contributing to career limitation. For the change averse, staying in a bad job is better than the uncertainty of leaving it. I'd venture to guess the same mindset can apply to the other parts of life too. The fear limits us, standing in the way of our growth, our advancement, our happiness. There's always something more on the other side, whatever form that might take. If the change is related to a loss of some kind, I am so sorry. There's nothing more difficult than losing someone or something we loved. But focusing on the gratitude for what you had keeps you away from the low energy that comes from focusing on all that you've lost. Change can be met with the energy of fear or an energy of discovery if you allow it. You get to choose. I like thinking about change as a transition, a new beginning, a chance to learn and grow in a different way. Regardless of the circumstances that lead you to this place, the moment when you are faced with a transition to something new, a transition is a bridge to growth, an opportunity to open yourself to more. The adage, when one door closes, another opens, is apt. We have life experiences, a sequence of circumstances that we are flowing through, each one delivering an opportunity to learn and grow. If you reflect on all you've experienced, you'll take that with you to the next. If you miss the chance to contemplate the experience and learn from it, it seems life always has a way of delivering another experience so you can learn it again. Our life circumstances, situations, every one of them have meaning. They have purpose. Sometimes it's difficult to see while you're going through them, but it is always something to appreciate as you reflect upon them, transitioning us from one thing to another. If you listened to my last episode, you know that I recently lost a dear college friend. One of the beautiful things to come from the experience was a chance to connect with people I hadn't known before and reconnect with others, some of whom I hadn't been in contact with for decades. One person shared that he had meant to get in touch with our friend earlier, but the busyness of life got in the way. He was filled with regret, sharing that it was a stark reminder to prioritize the things that are most important. This is an example of the way life works. There's no room or time or value in beating ourselves up. All you can do is reflect and move forward. This is how we learn. Next time, he will prioritize differently, and what a gift that is, right? Life has an uncanny way of helping us grow. Sometimes life helps us grow by catapulting us into transition, instigating a change to snap us out of the complacency that comes when we are trapped in our familiar, unconscious habits. You know what I mean, right? Our routines, living on autopilot, doing things in the same sequence, sitting in the same seats, eating the same food, driving the same roads. The more familiar things are, the less effort is required. And when less effort is needed, when we carry on out of habit, immersed in the busyness of our lives, it's easy to take things for granted. We become blind to what is directly in front of us, the beauty of what is, our relationships, our surroundings. Have you ever had someone in the car with you point something out? And though it's something you have driven by hundreds of times, you never noticed? When we are in a change, it's all different. Everything is new because we have to be fully engaged, alert. We must act with deliberate intention. There are no well-worn patterns of action, no habits, no autopilot. It requires us to be in every moment, fully present, conscious. This is why change is such a gift, because nothing catapults you into the moment more than change. Nothing places you in the moment of what is more than change. And so, yes, change can be uncomfortable. Why? Because it's unfamiliar. Why? Because we're not in the recognized patterns of our behavior. Change is an interruption of our patterns. And with an interruption of our patterns comes a brilliant transport from unconscious living to action with intention. Living, not just doing, but being. We are meant to be human beings, soaking in every moment of what is. Change can be a beautiful way to make that happen. And while change can sometimes be abrupt, an opening always follows. We might realize that things weren't working for us the way we wanted them to. These moments of transition, these times of change, these openings make room for more. Even small shifts can make a huge difference, and it takes a change sometimes to help us recognize it. This doesn't necessarily mean that what we had wasn't enough. It means that there's more meant for you ahead, different and new opportunities to learn, to grow, to love. So yes, lots of transitions. It can be a transition to a life without a loved one. It can be a transition to a home without a child who's gone to school or away to college or off on a new adventure. It can be transitioning out of the work that you have long known. It can be transitioning into a new living situation or an unfamiliar life circumstance. Every one of these things is an opening for more. We take everything we've learned from all of our experiences and bring them into the next. Change can be difficult if we focus on what is not, but entirely different if we look at what can be, all the possibility, what is, the gift of now. A transition to something more. We can also get stuck in our circumstances because we fear the unknown that comes with change. We stay in a job we don't like or in a relationship that isn't healthy. We are single but stay at home alone to avoid the vulnerability or fear of rejection. It requires energy to change, particularly when that energy is grounded in fear. So we force ourselves not to think about it, so we keep going, stuck as we've always been. We can opt to stay in a low-vibrating, soul-robbing existence because we'd rather stay in the known, as unsavory as it may be, than jump into something unfamiliar. The fear, the lack of control, the unknown frightens us more than the sadness or loneliness of where we are. So we stay, even though we can transition to something more. Change is always more, because nothing fulfills you more than taking in every moment of what is. Nothing transports you to the moment more than the unfamiliar. And the moment of what is the beautiful gift that you have been given. The now, that moment, the being. It is sensing all that is around you, seeing all that surrounds you, feeling the love around you, soaking it all in. Nothing is more joyful. Nothing provides more fulfillment. Nothing delivers more peace than the love that comes from the moment of what is. When we live in our minds, we can become consumed by fear. Fear of failure, judgment, insecurity, disappointment, not meeting the expectations of others. When you're living in your heart and in the moment, all you feel is what is. The fear is tamed and you feel alive. Change transports us to the moment. We can all get into a mode of unconscious habits, an old pattern that's time has come to let go. Think about your life. How much of it is habitual? Relationships can become habitual, like a comfortable pair of slippers, all worn in and maybe worn down. Maybe it's time to awaken to the appreciation of your relationship, to that beautiful person to whom you feel so deeply connected. It can be your spouse or partner, family member, son or daughter or friend. Maybe it's saying thank you or I love you more often and meaning it and feeling it, interrupting those familiar patterns. Change brings an energy of rediscovery, waking you to looking at what is with fresh eyes and an open heart, an invitation, a transition to something more. Yes, so pattern interruption is a gift. And life has a funny way, doesn't it, of catapulting you into change? When we get so complacent, we are awakened. Sometimes we can feel so regretful for that which no longer exists. But think of it instead as an opportunity for new moments, new experiences, living with deliberate intention, appreciating everything that is, taking nothing for granted, loving with all of your soul. New beginnings are definitely in motion. When one situation ends, it makes room for another to begin. And we have to know that each of our situations is filled with meaning, purpose, learning, growth. These can be joyful, they can be uncomfortable, but each is rich with its experiences in its own way. An energy of rediscovery, gifts that are waking us up to the richness of being. I hope this will help you welcome the change that has come or that you may need in your life. Change is an invitation, a new beginning, a transition to something more. Here's to all that lies ahead. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you know someone who can benefit from this episode, I hope you share it. And if you enjoyed it, please quickly rate and review it. It's the way others who need it can find it too. Here's to kindness and firing up that beautiful light of yours so you can shine brightly. Until next time, take it easy.